On the 598th day of the war in Ukraine, the fighting was concentrated in these areas. In Kupyansk front, fighting is ongoing near Sinkivka, Ivanivka and Kislivka. With the increasing Russian pressure northeast of Sinkivka, Ukrainian forces started a counterattack in the direction of Liman-Pershi to relieve the pressure on their defensive line near Sinkivka. A few days ago, Ukrainian forces managed to penetrate through the forests west of Liman-Pershi, forcing the Russian army to reposition a part of their forces and artillery units in this area to face the Ukrainian advance. However, it seems that the Ukrainian forces did not stop their counterattacks because today the Russian sources published footage of their artillery shelling a wide area only 600 meters south and west of the village. The previous front line was near the Lake Liman, about 1.5 km away from the Russian-controlled village, which shows that Ukrainians were able to advance almost 1 km in this direction. The frequent counterattacks of the Ukrainian forces seem to have undermined the Russian advance towards Sinkivka by not allowing the Russian army to deploy enough forces for a decisive push over the Ukrainian village. On the eastern part of the front, battles are reported taking place in the Orlyanka-Kislivka line, where both sides engaged tanks and armored units in support of their infantry forces who are fighting positional battles inside the trenches. Ukrainian sources reported that Russians had some minor tactical advances west of Orlyanka and near Kislivka, moving inside the grey areas, but so far Ukrainians still hold all these strategic positions in this area. In Donetsk front, battles are ongoing in Avdiivka sector. It looks like the Russian offensive has clearly lost the momentum, with Russian forces being unable to make any significant advance after 5 days of clashes around Avdiivka. In the northern part of the front line, Russian forces have not been able to advance past the Ukrainian lines across the railway. The minefields, as well as Ukrainian forces smartly using artillery and anti-tank missiles, have proven to be an impenetrable barrier against the Russian attacks. Ukrainian sources published more footage showing the Omega Special Unit destroying a Russian tank near Avdiivka using a Javelin ATGM. Even near the Waysteel, also known as the Terikon, Russian forces were not able to gain a foothold. Russian sources such as Rybar are slowly acknowledging the failure of their offensive. Rybar reported that Russian forces were pushed out of the heights north of Avdiivka, and the Russian offensive so far has failed to achieve any significant success. After destroying the bridge near Yasinuvata and cutting off one of the main supply lines for the Russian offensive, the Ukrainian army is conducting a series of kamikaze drones and artillery strikes at the Russian rear near Verkhotoretsk, inflicting damage to the Russian forces before they reach the line of contact. In Zaporizhia front, clashes were reported near Kopani, Robotyne, Novoprokopivka and Verbove. As I mentioned yesterday, during the past few days, Ukrainian forces have mostly shifted their attention on the flanks, where they are making small but continuous advances on both sides of the front line. Yesterday, Ukrainians advanced north of Kopani by clearing and capturing a trench system about 3 kilometers away from the town, while today Russian sources published footage showing the Russian artillery shelling the trenches which are located west of the village of Robotyne, indicating that Ukrainian forces were able to gain a foothold in this direction, securing the Robotyne-Novoprokopivka road. On the other flank, Ukrainians made some small tactical advances in the areas west of Verbove and Novofedorivka, while Russian forces responded with counterattacks southeast of Novoprokopivka, retaking a part of their previously lost positions in this area. Friends, if you like my daily updates, I kindly ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as this will greatly help the channel to reach a wider audience. That's all for today's update. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, and have a great day.